What is the best example of someone who gamed the system? Meet Patrick Combs. Years ago, Patrick received a junk mail fake check. Supposedly, if he were to send money to the company, he would then soon get more huge checks like the one he just received. The fake check was made out for $95,093. It even had an attached authorized signature. Now, most people would see this as the junk in the total scam that it obviously was. Most people would rip it up and just toss it in their trash. Most people would ignore it. But Patrick was not like most people. Patrick was extremely broke. At the time, he had only $200 in his bank account. He had a good sense of humor and thought, what would happen if I tried to deposit this into my bank account, fully expecting to get a laugh out of it from both himself and the bank teller. That's exactly what Patrick did. He went to deposit the check into his bank account. As Patrick said, I didn't think I was sticking money into the machine. He was fully expecting the check to bounce, so he didn't even endorse the back of it. Time passes and Patrick forgets about it. 10 days later though, he checks his bank account, and to his amazement, $95,093.35 now sits in his bank account. It turns out that the check actually matched 9 of the criteria that the bank required for a check to be valid. The words non-negotiable that the junk company placed on the front did not negate the check whatsoever. It turned out that they had been successful in making the check look real. Too real. Additionally, the bank managed to miss their own legal deadline to notify Patrick that his check had bounced as a non-cash item. The excitement of that much money was off the scale, he said. It was an addiction. For 2 months, I obsessed on whether I should take the money or give the money back. I put my bank on speed dial and dialed it every 10 minutes. I worried constantly that it would go away. As the summer passed, Patrick did not spend the money. He couldn't decide whether or not it should be his. Eventually, he had the bank issue a cashier's check for the exact same amount, which he put in a safe deposit box. He had converted the electronic money to something more real. Shortly afterwards, legal people from the bank began harassing him to give the money back. By this time, though, Patrick was getting advice from everyone. He had put his story on the internet and was getting letters from people daily telling him to keep the money. I realized that a lot of people were willing to set their values aside if the sun was large enough, he says. One guy said, so what if you lose all of your friends? You'll have 95 grand and you can get new ones. The money that had started as a joke became 2 new problems. First, there was the ethical problem. Was the money really Patrick's? And second, there was the legal problem. Was it legally his? Ethically, Patrick could never quite justify keeping the money. I kept coming back to the Robin Hood concept, he says. I hate bags. How about if I take the money from the bank and give it to the needy? That's righteousness. Still, the more he thought about Robin Hood, the more he was convinced that Robin Hood was wrong. When the bank served him with legal papers to try to keep him from cashing the cashier's check, he realized he needed to stop playing and make a decision. What had started as a joke had become standing up for my rights, he remembers. But it turned out that these bank people didn't like jokes. The bank didn't even want to admit that it had made a mistake when it put the money in his account. Patrick, though, still had another card to play. He took his story to the Wall Street Journal. When the story came out, he was asked to be on Good Morning America, NBC Nightly News, ABC Nightly News, etc. He spent weeks ping-ponging across the country, doing TV appearances. Everyone told him to keep the money. There was even a president for keeping the money. A car dealer in the Midwest advertised coupons which would entitle the bearer to $500 off a new car. When a woman came in with a pile of coupons and asked for the car for free, a judge said they had to give it to her. They had failed to write one per customer on the coupon. If Patrick kept the money, it would be through a similar legal loophole. Patrick decided he didn't want to be the loophole guy. There was no way I was going to be that guy. Why can't common sense rule? So in October 1995, on the day of the O.J. Simpson verdict, Patrick gave the money back and in return got a letter from the bank stating that after Patrick's mistake of initially depositing the check, the bank had made a string of mistakes and was at fault. When Patrick left the bank, there were no TV cameras. It was so perfect, so flat. There was no reward whatsoever for doing the right thing. It was like I was winning something by giving away the prize.